Hi guys, how are you? Welcome back to the Rechalea podcast. It is 11:11 a.m. on a Friday. This Torah class is happening no matter what. I couldn't sleep last night because I've been waiting to do this Torah class. Torah, for all the non-Jewish followers, is the Bible, right? This is the only thing that actually matters in life. And we talked so much, I hate to use the word garbage, but garbage is the right word. All this like muck of the world, Candace Owens and her evil, all these fake people that have these strong voices. We need a cleanser. We need to feed your soul, my soul. Torah teaching, Torah classes. The Bible, the Torah is the only thing that actually matters. This is actually the only reason I started a social media was to teach. I don't have a wig on. I don't have any makeup on because my baby's sleeping. It's a very short day and I just don't have the time. This Torah class needs to happen because it's that important. Okay? I don't care who you are, where you come from. We have a lot of new followers, thank God, this week. And a lot of you guys are not Jewish, and that doesn't matter. Stay. The Torah is for everyone. The Bible is for everyone's soul. We were all created by God in the image of God, and we can all learn from the Bible. And especially if you lived through this past week, the muck that is happening in everyone's lives, like the garbage. We need to feed our souls and come back to God. And that is what we're doing today. So, by the way, I also like to sometimes just show up as my absolute natural self to show women that you don't need to look all done up and perfect every time you show your face to the world. It's okay. You're a human being. You don't need to be absolutely perfect. For all of you guys who are new, you can see I have a lot of you guys were asking me. I have a birthmark on my face. I never cover it up. I never took it off. I never got it lasered, even though as a teenager, I wanted to because of that specific lesson. That's a conversation for another time that I want girls and women to know. God created you a certain way and you're fine. You're good. You're beautiful. You're special. You have so much to offer because your body, that's something very important to know, is not your contribution to the world. I'm going to repeat that. You can turn up imperfect physically because your body and the way that you look is not your contribution to the world. There's so much inside of you that you have to share. And that's your contribution. So it's okay to turn up with no makeup and no wig, and we're good. Okay, this week's Parsha. Parsha means Torah portion. Again, if you're not Jewish, do not leave. This is for you also. If you're Jewish, you also do not leave because. Okay, let's go to this week's Parsha. This week's Parsha is Vayeshev. Vayeshev is about the story. It's the story of Joseph. The story of Joseph is so magnificent. It is so life-changing. It is so transformative. If you learn, I'm going to try and look here. Let's see if that helps if I look at this camera. It is such a transformative, unbelievable story. No, I can't look there, sorry. Not just because there's so many reasons. One of the things you notice first when you learn this week's Parsha, Vayeshev, is that the characters are so human. This is always one of the proofs that the Jews did not write the Torah because it does not make us look good. The 12 tribes, the 12 Shvatim, which were, the source of the Jewish people, they tried to kill their brother in this week's Parsha. There's so much human imperfection, starting off with Jacob. How does Jacob make such a huge mistake and favor one of his children and destroy his family? He destroys his family. And God does not hold back with that. He says, learn from Jacob. Jacob favors Joseph. So Yaakov favors Yosef. I'm going to interchange between the Hebrew and the English names. And he destroys his family. All of his other sons become very jealous of Joseph. And it destroys everything. But that's not just, that's not the only thing that's so incredible about this week's Parsha. Guys, Joseph is one of the most fascinating characters. He has such a horrible, terrible, painful life. And this is where you come in. If you're watching this, that's why it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, your background, your religion, your ethnicity, your last name, like Brandon Tatum cared about mine. You will relate to this. This story is actually about you. We are all Joseph. We are all Yosef. We are all we all descend into Egypt at a certain time in our life. In Judaism, there's a concept of galos, which means exile, that God is not revealed completely in this world. And that we need to help reveal him in this world, right? When there's evil, when there's tragedy, it's kind of like, where is God? It's our job to actually reveal God in this world and to bring God into this world. That's why we try to be good people. We try to stay true to who we are. this is what happens to Yosef. Yosef has such a hard life. He is first of all, his brothers tried to kill him. His brothers, I'm one of 9, okay? I have 8 siblings. He was he had 11 brothers, right? There was 12 boys. There's probably also sisters. We don't know a lot about them. We know about Dinah. His brothers tried to kill him. And then they sell him for 20 silver pieces. He's sold as a slave to Egypt. And then he sits in jail for 10 years, minimum 10 years. And we're going to go through the horrible things that happened to him. And then the guy that he works for, well, this was before he went to jail. This is the reason he went to jail. So his brother tried to kill him, and they say, no, that's not really a good thing. Let's not kill him. Let's just sell him as a slave. He's sold as a slave for nothing. He is not just an immigrant in a strange foreign land. Probably doesn't even know the language. He doesn't know the language. He doesn't know anyone. He's not just a foreigner and an immigrant. He's a slave. He's a nothing, a no one. He has nobody. He has no connections, no family. And then the guy that he works for, he becomes successful. And the guy that he works for, his wife tries to sexually assault him. It's like the opposite of Me Too. He gets Me Too'd in the opposite way. Well, he gets Me Too'd actually, but it's a lie. Yosef's boss, Potiphar, his wife tries to sleep with him, and she's harassing him. And just remember, Yosef is a 17-year-old teenager. Okay, he's a teenage boy. He's very handsome, as the Torah tells us. He has this kind of quiet charisma, it seems. By the way, he could have just slept with her, and we'll talk about that a little bit later down the line, but he then says, no, I won't sleep with you. And she lies to her husband and says, Yosef he raped me, he tried to rape me. And Yosef sent to jail for 10 years minimum. The commentaries on the Torah say he was sent for minimum 10 years to jail. And his life it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So what's the unbelievable part? The unbelievable part is not that he becomes successful. There's 2 things. Yosef, no matter what happens, the Torah, the text keeps saying that, I have the text here, guys. That's where I'm looking. It says he consistently becomes successful. So he has nothing. He has no one, no connections, no family, no money. He doesn't speak the language. He comes as a slave, and he just climbs the ladder. He becomes so successful. And everyone who sees him is influenced and affected by him. That's one crazy thing. But that's not what I want to focus on today. We are going to focus on it a little bit, but that's not the crazy thing. Hi, Tamar, my husband's coming home. The Torah class continues. That's not the crazy thing. The crazy thing is that, no, he's a 17-year-old teenage boy. He's all alone. He doesn't see his family for 22 years. And he never assimilates into Egyptian society, ever. Not even 1%, not even a little bit. Even when his brothers eventually come down to get food because there's a famine, and he sees them, he's still eating different food. He's still eating kosher food. He's just completely subsumed and involved in Egyptian society, which was a corrupt society. We see this throughout the Torah. Wives are trying to sleep with other men. Their commentaries there's just so much corruption. You can sell people, right? There's slavery. You could sell whoever you want for spices. And Yosef is not affected by Egyptian society. He doesn't assimilate. He doesn't become less Jewish. And he never becomes a bad person. He's all alone. Do you understand that? He's a teenage boy. When this beautiful, wealthy, probably famous woman, Potiphar's wife, tries to sleep with him, and no one will ever find out, she's obsessed with him. How easy would it have been for him to just sleep with her? It would have been very easy. And in fact, the commentaries, we're going to read this in a minute, say that Yosef wanted to sleep with her. He was very attracted to her, and he was probably lonely. His family betrayed him. He has no one. And we'll get there, but we'll see what happens. But this is why I always say, and someone asked, by the way, there was a comment from someone, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, and my phone is not here, who said that we needed to add some kind of inviting, warm Background, this is a separate thing that just came into my head. There was a woman, she made a comment on my last video that said, please add a nice background. We are working on it. You are 100% right, because my eye caught those terrible black wires behind me. I know this is very not inviting. We're changing it. So thank you for your patience. But this is why, I also was thinking that someone asked me last time, like, do you have any Christian friends? And it was symbolic, that question, that there seems to be this like great divide between like Jewish and non-Jewish people. We are all created in the image of God, and the Torah is for everyone. This storyline of Yosef, it's for everyone. You can relate to it whether you're a Muslim, a Christian, a Jew, an atheist. I don't care if you're man or woman, gay, straight. It doesn't matter. We all struggle with this. This is the work of life. It doesn't matter who you are. God is still your God. God is still God. God still created you and gave you a mission in this life. And the mission we all have different missions in life. But we all have one mission in common, which is to not be corrupted by the darkness of this world. And even a step further, to be a light in this world, to withstand the corruption and the darkness, and not just withstand it, but transform it into light and be a candle in this world. And that's what Yosef did. But how did he do it? We're all like Yosef in a certain way. We're all in some ways alone. Even if you have family, if you're married, we all are on this life journey. We control over ourselves. We're responsible for ourselves. We cannot blame or hold anyone else responsible for our problems or our challenges. We're all Joseph. We are all Yosef. He is just incorruptible. You cannot influence him. It doesn't matter how powerful. Guys, he's at the epicenter. He's in the eye of the storm of Egyptian society. He's sold as a slave, and then he works for Potiphar, who was like one of Paro's right-hand men. And then he goes to jail. And then he's released from jail, and he works for Pharaoh. And then he's sitting next to Pharaoh on the throne. And he never stops being Jewish. He never stops being a Jew. He never is embarrassed of who he is. He's always proud. He's always connected to God. And that's going to take us into our answer. But I want to speak to the Jewish women who are listening right now, because I talk about this all the time, and I won't stop talking about it. So many Jewish women, and I felt this in my life, so it's not like a shame. It's not something to be embarrassed about. I felt this a million times, where we feel kind of embarrassed to be different, to look different, right? To cover our hair, to dress modestly, right? We dress differently than a lot of people. We eat different, we sleep different, we have different ways of being married, of our, having that intimate part of our relationship is different also. Everything is dictated by the word of God, by the 613 mitzvos, and it's different. And women have said to me, like almost word for word, I don't like dressing modestly because it singles me out in a crowd. And I would urge you to read this week's Torah portion, this week's Parsha, because Joseph was also singled out, and he was proud of it. And he, through his being proud of being Jewish and different, and he didn't just stay so pure and pristine and godly. He influenced all of Egypt. That's how powerful you can be. How did he do it? We're going to learn something from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, okay? The Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the greatest Jew of the 20th century. We're going to learn what he taught on this week's Parsha. Where is it? Somewhere here. Okay, here it is. Whoops. We're still recording. Perfect. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Okay. Now let's mikach. I'm going to read in Hebrew and translate loosely, a loose translation, because I'm not going to be too particular about it. I'm just going to give you we're going to translate, whatever, doesn't matter. Okay, here we go. Na'alas mikach hidargas avodaso shel Yosef, Asher mitzad echad hayasharai b'hislabshus b'nyani ha'olam. We learn the most incredible thing from Yosef. It's not that he was like separated from Egyptian society. He was completely enclosed, engrossed, subsumed in Egyptian culture. He was in the epicenter of Egyptian society, Egyptian culture. He was all alone. He didn't have his parents. It says, the text says, and by the way, I was supposed to read from the text today, and I have so many notes here, but we just don't have the time for it, because having a 5-month-old means you're always on an alarm clock. But the Rebbe says, it says, and Yosef went down to Mitzrayim. It says that on purpose. There was this serious degradation, like when you go down to Mitzrayim, your surroundings are being degraded. They really are going down in holiness because Egyptian society was corrupt. It was corrupt. And how much more so? Kal v'chomer b'hiyoso melech al Mitzrayim. How much more so would it have been difficult? How difficult it was for him to be, it wasn't just the epicenter of Egyptian society. He was sitting next to Pharaoh on the throne. V'kach af lefnei kain, me'az yeridaso l'Mitzrayim b'hiyoso evet shel Potifar sar tabachim haya tarud b'iskei Potifar. And even more than that, he was living in Potiphar's house. Potiphar was works for Pharaoh, and it was his wife. How much more so, even more than Potiphar, his wife, who attacked Yosef and was trying to seduce him. And Yosef was all alone and had no one, and was probably very lonely and was a teenage boy. And nevertheless, the lamros kolzos kol hatardas halalu lo hifriuhu bidveguso b'Hashem. It didn't matter what Yosef went through. He never was affected by it. He was never changed by it. He was never influenced by his surroundings and by the culture around him, which was very different than the way he grew up. And it never separated him from God. Yosef arrived as a Jew, and he died in Mitzrayim as a Jew. He was completely different, and he demanded and commanded respect for him being different. So what's the answer? The Rebbe's going to say it now. Ki etzlo ha'ir ha'or ha'eloki. How did Yosef do it, and how do you do it, and how do I do it? How do we remain, again, if you're Jewish, how do you remain a Jew and not assimilate into the culture around you, not be embarrassed of who you are? And if you're not Jewish, how do you remain true to yourself? How do you remain true to your godly origins, your source? We were all created to be holy and not to give into our lowest, basest self, and not to be dictated, not to have our lives be dictated and cower and capitulate to the corruption around us, to stay pure and good and to live by the dictates of our soul. How do you do it? Well, how did Yosef do it? Ki etzlo ha'ir ha'or ha'eloki hanal legamri min ha'olam. Because Yosef shone the light of God that is above this world. God creates this world. He's involved in this world and every detail of the world. Judaism teaches that not even one blade of grass grows without God's commanding it to grow. So God knows everything going on in your life. But God is not, it's his world, right? So he's not influenced by the world. God is incorruptible because he's the source of everything. Nothing exists without God. And that light is what Yosef attached himself to. That incorruptible life, which is elevated above the world, which animates the world, which gives the world life. That light of God, which influences the world and cannot be influenced by the world, that is the light that Yosef had shining out of him at all times, because he held onto it with all of his soul, with all of his might, with all of his heart, with all of his being, with every fiber of his being, he held on to God. We know that Yosef was learning Torah throughout his stay in Egypt. And let's continue with the Rebbe for a second. Asher b'dargazo ein ha'olam tofes etzel makom klal. When you do this, when you hold on to God with all of your might, The world cannot influence you. It's impossible. You cannot be corrupted. The Lubavitcher Rebbe is a perfect example of this. The Rebbe was incorruptible. My father always says that. What was it about the Rebbe that just attracted so many people? He was so holy. He was incorruptible. ולכן יכול עבודתו להספצע מתוך הסלבשות בעולם, ויחד עם זאת, בלי לפגוע בדבקות באלוקות אשר היא מורגשת גם בענייני העולם. כך שבתוך העולם עצמו ניתן לחוש באלוקות שמעל למגבלות העולם. Basically, the Rebbe says that is how Yosef was. He was involved in Egyptian society. He was subsumed in it. He was, there's a better word for it? He was completely engaged in Egyptian society, and yet he wasn't affected by it. And not just that, he affected it. He influenced Egyptian society. He made everyone better. He made everyone around him better. And I want to read one thing to you. There is this moment in the Parsha, in this week's Torah portion. I'm going to read it to you guys. Okay. It's about Potiphar's wife and how she tries to seduce Yosef. Okay. Okay. You can't see it. Okay. Whatever. Okay. Potiphar put Yosef in charge of his household. He gave him responsibility for all he owned. Basically, he becomes like the head of Potiphar's household. Now, Yosef was well built and he was handsome. And after a while, his master's wife cast her eyes on Joseph. "Lie with me," she said, just trying to seduce him. But he refused. He told her, "My master does not concern himself with the running of this house. He has entrusted me with everything he owns. No one in this house has greater authority than I. He has withheld nothing from me except for you." Yosef saying, "I have complete control over this household. Your husband trusts me. He has given me access to everything besides you. Because you are his wife, how could I do such a great evil? It would be a sin against God." These are the words of Joseph, a 17-year-old boy, completely alone in this foreign land. He says it would be a sin against God. And we're not done. And though she spoke to Yosef every day, day after day, he would not consent to lie with her or to be with her. One day he came into the house to do his work, and none of the other servants were there. She caught him by his cloak and said, "Lie with me." She's adamant. She's stubborn. She really wants to be with Yosef. He ran away from her and fled outside. And that's when she Me Too's him, by the way. And obviously it's a lie. Now, we're not done. Rashi, who's the foremost commentator on the Torah, I want to read you what he says. Oh, can you guys still see me? Yes. Okay. He brings a commentary which is so stunning and so incredible, and I want to read it to you. Rav and Shmuel differed in Rav and Shmuel are two different rabbis. They differed in their explanation of this phrase that Joseph went in to do his work. What does it mean Joseph went in to do his work? That's kind of a superfluous, unneeded phrase. One said he went to do his work in the literal sense. So he went to Potiphar's house that morning to go do his work. The other said to do his work actually means he went to sleep with Potiphar's wife. He finally caved. He said, I can't hold back anymore. He was obviously attracted to her. He was this young man. She was this successful, probably beautiful, rich, famous in Egyptian society, powerful woman who wants to sleep with him. What would you guys do to the men in the, or even a woman? Well, if it was the opposite way around, that would be a hard struggle. And what does Rashi say? He wanted to sleep with her, but how did he hold back? But he didn't do it because a vision of his father's face appeared to him in his mind, and he resisted temptation. Wow. That is so stunning. That is unbelievable. And I actually spoke to my own father about this. I told my dad on his birthday, his birthday was like 2 weeks ago. I brought up this Rashi. I said, whenever I read this Rashi, this commentary, I think about you. Because I live in Florida, my parents live in New York. New Jersey. And no one's trying to sleep with me. I don't have this kind of, this is not my challenge. But we all struggle with being a good person, with staying true to our values. And my father appears in my mind all the time. My father, the way he educated me, my mother too, but my dad was like the educator in the house. We had a very traditional household. My father was like, he gave us the lessons in life and disciplined us and taught us the Bible every night for 20-something years. And I told my dad, your face comes into my mind constantly. And that was my birthday message to him. I said, thank you. Thank you for sitting me down and teaching me Torah for 22 years. Thank you for educating me, for disciplining me, for instilling godliness into me. He imprinted God into my mind. He imprinted the Torah. He like tattooed it onto my soul. He ingrained it in me to such a degree and carved it into my psyche that I have what Yosef has, and I understand it. Yosef was going to sin, and his father came into his head, and he was reminded, I'm a Jew. I'm connected to God. I was educated by my father, and he cleaved with all of his might onto Hashem, onto God, and that is how he stayed incorruptible in his time in Mitzrayim, in Egypt. And wow, what a lesson. And that is why I had to just jump on here. I tried to do this Torah lesson so many times this week. My baby will always come first, obviously. But second to my family is Torah. It's the most important thing. So I hope you got something from that Torah lesson. Please comment, tell me your thoughts. I love to learn. I love to teach. This doesn't feel like teaching to me. I love to learn with you guys, to sit and learn. And God bless you. God should give you everything you want, everything you need. And God should grant you the strength of Joseph, the influence of Joseph, his goodness, his incorruptibility. And have a beautiful weekend. Have a beautiful Shabbos. And I'll see you on Monday. Bye.